Yeah, welcome to today's Orchestration weekly meeting. So we have actually two face-to-face meetings, but one is the Ceph 2009 meeting on Saturday. I don't know if we have time or when we have time, as the other meetings are a bit more important. At least the stage meeting is a bit more important for me. So I really don't know if and when we can meet there. No idea.
Yeah, I think my flight gets in Saturday morning, so Saturday
Yeah,
afternoon potentially, but I'm not sure
and
how
I
or when people get there.
also don't know where and when.
Is there another list of meetings somewhere?
A list of meetings, yeah.
Sorry, you
Um,
mentioned Sage's meeting. Which one is that?
it's the first one in the list in the Etherpad. I've pasted to the Orchestration Whittling Etherpad.
Okay.
So there is at least Sage, a meeting from Sage, a core meeting, an RGW meeting. I don't know. I think we need an agenda for the overall project priorities meeting before I can say anything about our orchestrator meeting. Maybe on Saturday evening or late afternoon. I don't know.
Mhm.
We had originally another possibility. It's the dashboard face-to-face meeting in Fulda in Germany in June, where only Miguel managed to sign up for it. I don't have got any news from Scott Ostapovich right now. He wanted to look into that from the Red Hat side.
Mhm. Did you talk about that last week?
Not
I
really.
just missed it. So
Not really.
okay, I can follow up with Scott too to see on the
Yes,
interest there.
that would make sense. If there is not really an interest in that orchestrator meeting in Fulda, then we can basically strip it down to a dashboard face-to-face meeting. I'm going to join it in any case. I'm also interested in the dashboard, of course. But yeah, the orchestrator part depends on if we can get people to attend.
Yeah, since it's just 2 weeks after KubeCon, I think it's a little challenging for me to get back over there.
Yeah, I agree. So, Travis.
Yeah, so the Rook system namespace changes, and I'm still catching up on PTO, by the way, so I'm probably going to forget some things or miss some things, but the latest I'm aware of is around this. So the YAML refactoring that I started before I left, it's still, I need to go back and update based on a couple of new comments. I think it's about there. I know Sebastian Hahn, you're depending on this for LLM work too, so I need to make this a priority so we can move
Yeah,
that forward.
yeah. Although it's not like at this point, it's not as urgent as it used to be. But still, I think it's overall it's nice to have for the project. So.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to
Um,
not delay it too long too, so we can get people trying it
Yeah,
out
yeah.
before Rook or 1.0, just more bake time since it's a big YAML change.
Yep.
it was urgent at one time, so we had a limitation with respect to the namespaces.
A limitation? Maybe I'm not remembering which limitation that was.
I was just curious why that it was urgent at one time in place.
I think with the OLM
yeah.
integration, or go ahead, Sebastian.
Yeah, that is for the OLM integration.
Ah, okay.
And also I think because I mean we really want to have this for 1.0, and overall this will really produce a nice experience for all users. So it's really important to have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's my PR for YAML refactoring, and then to go along with that, there's a couple other PRs to manage what happens in passing in vars, environment variables, to the manager pod. Rohan, who's not on this call, created that. And then Sebastian, your PR around picking up the environment variables in the manager. I saw that. That's looking good. So we can make sure we get all the settings communicated.
We have a names we already have a variable named pod_namespace in the manager pod.
Yeah, that variable could actually be different from where the operator pod is running.
Yeah, that's the rook namespace. The rook system namespace environment variable.
Yeah.
But the other PR is also introducing a new one that's called rook cluster_ns.
Okay, so that's probably the same as pod namespace, so maybe we don't need that one.
Yeah. If we can simplify it in that way, that would be good. Because we already have pod namespace.
Exactly, okay. So is the new, let's see, I need to look at the PRs again. So the new cluster namespace, so that's not referring to the orchestrator namespace. Maybe we just need to make sure they're named so they're clear. But
yeah,
we don't need that redundancy. But I see rook system namespace.
Rook system namespace, yeah.
We need that, and then rook API version, which is going to be v1 right now.
Yeah.
Rook version.
I don't think I need rook version.
Yeah, we don't need that yet. I guess I was then wondering if someday we might need that for finer grained version checking. And then rook cluster name. Yeah, the name of the CRD object. But I think those don't overlap with the pod namespace.
Yeah. There was a variable named rook cluster NS, and that vanished in the last hour, I think.
Yeah, I think Rohan just pushed. So maybe a question around the versioning. So right now, that version of v1, that's just the version of the CRD, which right now we're just planning on it'll be v1 for the foreseeable future, and hopefully we can get away with not changing that version, because every time we update that version, it's a bit there's coding involved and it's kind of a pain. But if there's some incompatibility where rook makes a change or the manager makes a change and the manager module needs to have a different behavior based on the version, it might be a different, might need to check more fine-grained version than just based on the CRD version. Which is why I thought, well, let's just add the CRD or the rook version of environment variable in case we ever need it. So I'm hoping we won't need it, but it's just kind of, well, if we need it, it would be there.
Yeah, right now my idea was to just stop at the point where the CRD version changes. If the CRD version is 2 and the manager rook manager module only supports v1, and I'm just going to say no, I don't support that rogue version.
Right. Yeah, so if we do change the CRD version because there's some major change or breaking change or whatever, then yeah, that CRD change version will change. And maybe we could assume that, yeah, let's start with that assumption that it will be compatible until we change the CRD version.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so that sounds good for that. I think, yeah, on that topic, Seb, maybe you have more updates on the Rook side this week since I've been out. Anything come to your mind?
Yeah, so I've been watching a little bit what has been happening, trying to up on issues and reviews. I sent a PR. It's actually a draft because it relies on one feature that has not landed in Ceph yet. It's basically one of the things we've discussed when I was in India with Sage, basically improving the upgrade experience by doing more thorough checks when we perform upgrades. So I have a PR for this, but yeah, we have to wait just a little bit. And once we have the merges and once we have the necessary changes in Ceph, then I can resume that. But at least the skeleton is already there. Also, I was looking a little bit at Ceph CSI and which basically relates to a bunch of internal things for Red Hat. See how we can support it. The downstream support versus the CI versus what we have upstream CI and PRs on the CSI too. So yeah, and recently started working on the external cluster support. But Travis also has one version, so we need to reconcile. But it looks like what you have, Travis, is far more advanced than what I do. So, but still, I think we need to have some discussions on that topic. So yeah, basically, that's basically what I have. And I guess one of the things related to the YAML changes are also some changes with RBACs and potentially supporting or not supporting any more multiple clusters on the same operator. We had various discussions about this, but we never really settled what we want to do. I think I'm kind of taking back what I was saying. I think at some point I was advocating for simplicity to have one operator, one cluster per operator. But although in practice this might be a little bit inconvenient, so I suspect that users and customers would want to have multiple clusters for one operator, and so this is potentially something we will still have to support. I think we definitely need to have a more serious discussion about this, but I just wanted to raise that really quickly so people are aware of that. Changes might come on that topic, I guess.
Yeah, and my thought on that is that, I mean, we need to continue supporting multiple clusters per operator,
Yeah.
at least for backward compatibility. But doing it, or in my YAML refactoring, I want to make it so that sort of by default, the examples show, well, here's how you create one operator and a cluster in the same namespace. Just make this, 90% case simple, where because almost all users just create one Rook namespace or one cluster. They just don't need multiple.
But everything you're putting everything into Rook Ceph or Rook Ceph system? Is that what you're saying?
Or Rook Ceph is the namespace I was thinking, calling it.
Okay, for both operator and the first cluster, right?
And the cluster, right?
Okay.
And then it's still, really the only, as long as we leave a little bit of code in place, like a simple for loop, and anyway, a few simple code changes code things that are already in there, then the only needed change from the core examples would be some RBAC to work across namespaces. And then so my YAML changes should also have an example of how to do that.
Okay,
People
because
can continue.
given that soon we will be integrating external clusters, I guess this is yet another example that we really need to have the support of multiple clusters. So we can have one managed and one unmanaged, or n unmanaged clusters that way too. You don't need to bootstrap a new operator so you can manage an external cluster. And it's just bound to, I guess, yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of usability, it's not really ideal.
Right. And with external cluster, it would be nice if we supported it in the same namespace as some other existing cluster, but anyway, that actually for simplicity we just need to keep it in a separate namespace.
Oh yeah.
Or I would anyway. So yeah, on the external cluster, what else was I going to say? The yeah, or a week or two ago, I was thinking, oh, we don't have time for this in 1.0. We'll just save it for 1.1. But as I was sitting on the plane last week, it's like I need something to do. I'll work on external cluster, and so maybe we'll get it in for 1.0, or at least a prototype version of it. We can start testing with it. Yeah, because it's a common feature request.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Ceph.
Next up, I don't know. I don't know if Jeff Layton really tested creating Blue Store RSDs. There is a pull request open for Ceph. Let me share the link. I think the generated CID is wrong. At least in the examples, I couldn't find a place where the key in the YAML file is called store config. It's always just config for OSD configs like BlueStore or Firestore. And I think we really need this pull request to be merged.
Yeah.
In order to properly create BlueStore OSDs.
Yeah, I think that property was renamed quite a while ago. So,
yeah.
Anyway, without it, you'd be getting the default OSD type, which if you're use all devices, then you'd get OSDs. But if you're getting the directory OSDs, you'd be using file store.
Yeah.
Yep, that looks right.
Yeah, that's a testament that we really need proper continuous integration in the orchestrator modules. That's a big problem that's still unsolved. Yeah, I think we can skip over kube checker. The last one I have is that I've created a Terraform script to create a cluster, a cubic cluster, for guys that want to try out everything in an open source environment. It works for me, and it also has a working Python 3 environment. I think the default containers for Rook still mainly use Python 2. Is this correct? At least in the toolbox, I still see no Python 3 installed on the toolbox.
It's based on CentOS 7, so
yeah. So if we want to make sure that the orchestrator also supports Python 3, then that would be one option to test it. I think the other one is Fedora 29, which only supports Python 3.
I think it has both options. I don't exactly remember. I've had mixed, I guess, feedback on this. I think last time I've tried, they were still defaulting to Python 2, but Python 3 was available.
Okay. We need a new maintainer for Ceph.
Yeah.
We formally propose someone.
So it's something I already discussed with Travis a couple of weeks ago, but I think we all felt that last week when Travis was away. So when Travis is away, nothing gets in.
Yep.
Because so I think this is slowing everything down. It's not good for anyone at this point because we can't rely on Travis to merge everything, to review everything. So in the long term, this is not really sustainable. So perhaps this is something we should raise at the next community meeting, or I can open an issue or do whatever is necessary. But at least it would be nice to have Blaine and maybe also one other person as a maintainer, so we can iterate a little bit more quickly on the Ceph side.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been pushing for a change here for a few months, really, since KubeCon. There's just a little context around it. So at KubeCon, maintainers, we had a discussion around, well, can we add another maintainer? Because the project was already growing at that point. And then, so the outcome of that discussion has been in the works, and the other maintainers want to create a new concept of owners in addition to maintainers, where owners could approve pull requests and things. So anyway, they wanted to update the governance before adding a new maintainer, and anyway, I gotta just annoy the other maintainers till we get it updated, because it's been taking way too long. And yep. But let's add it to the agenda for Tuesday. I don't know that. Well, let me ping the maintainers in the next couple of days and just see what I can get back from them and say, hey, this is really becoming a pain point, or it's been a pain point. How can we move it forward? As evidenced this week when I was out.
Yeah.
Especially. Because
Because things keep piling up, and then the CI workflow is not. I mean, we had that discussion already, but you merge a PR, then you should be rebasing on top of master again. So can't just click on merging everything. So that's another problem.
Yeah. So by the way, does Ceph rebase everything as they merge? Just curious.
No.
No.
No. They are merged as they are, but maintainers are supposed to make sure that every pull request is properly tested with make check and with integration tests, which is a manual process in Ceph.
Yeah, but that's a different problem. At this point, the issue is you have one PR that gets merged. Your PR was waiting, but CI passed, and then you're not up to date with masters. So maybe what you saw being green is now red, but you don't know about this. You should rebase again, run the CI, and make sure everything works again. But yeah, Ceph doesn't do this, I guess, for a simple reason, is that the CI takes a lot of time to run at this point. But I guess it's really a balance at this point. If you want to improve stability and robustness.
Yeah, and I struggle with that one because the CI in Rook takes so long right now too, like an hour and a half is where it is. So by requiring the rebase before merge, it would slow things down.
Yeah, but I mean, there are ways to decouple the CI or the way the CI runs. To touch a specific component, not always true, but maybe 90% of the time, you know that this particular component can be isolated and tested individually because it doesn't have any impact on the rest of the CI and the suite. So you can decouple your jobs into smaller jobs and then reduce the time it takes to run the CI.
Yeah.
But that's
so with work there, yeah, I'd love that change. We need improvements around the CI anyway.
yeah. I guess it's another discussion we need to have, and yeah. I mean, on the SUSE side, do you have people, or I guess do you have people that could help on the CI? Is SUSE willing to invest a little bit on the improving Rook's CI upstream? Or...
So we have some guys working on downstream CI for Rook. I can pass that on. That that you guys would be interested in getting some support from SUSE.
Yeah, at this point, we really need to do something to get more coverage to Rook upstream.
Yeah, I've been looking around for people too, because there's a guy at Upbound that spends a little bit of time on CI for Rook, but it's just really when things are blocked, because only they have access to the AWS account.
So the question is, how can SUSE help? Is it manpower, or is it computing power, or is it physical machines, or
I think it's a little bit of everything at this point.
And it's really about updating CI or improving integration tests so that we can parallelize them more.
Can I?
There's some, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Nice. This is Yuni was. While other people were pinging me on this. What about? We had looked at the Toothology. I know we're not using Toothology, and there's a lot of challenges there. Any new thinking around supporting Rook within Toothology on our side, on the Ceph side?
So I think it's a little bit. Well, I had discussed that with Sage when we were in India. I guess one of the conclusions we had was that not Ceph's goal or responsibility to support every single installers. I guess it's a nice to have, but every project that are consuming Ceph should be running its own CI. In the case of Ceph Ansible has its own CI. Then Rook should also have its own CI to consume Ceph the way it wants, because if we can't really handle all the orchestrators in Tautology on its own, will be it's just way too complex at this point.
And also for upstream Rook, I mean, we've got multiple storage providers. So besides Ceph, there's others. So it's really a more general CI question for upstream Rook.
Makes sense. It seems like a well thought out answer. Thanks.
Sure.
But, yeah. Actually, a week or two ago, I pinged Greg Hellings, who's a Red Hat guy who's done a bunch of CI, but he's on another project now and not available. But I'd love to find more time.
I think at this point we have to do a huge refactor of the CI, so we can add more scenarios to test. We can, I guess, more easily add them to make it more pluggable, and also we need to gain more control over it. And so I'm really not sure how to. Just that we have to allocate people resources to do this refactor. We also have to have compute resources to run the CI. So that's going to take a while. It's like a 6-month project for 1 or 2 people, but I think we are almost reaching the point where we have to have it because we keep adding functionality that we can't really test. For example, external clusters will hopefully soon be in Rook, but we won't have any real functional tests for it. We'll only have unit tests, and it's just one example of many, I suppose. One other thing will be testing OpenShift at this point.
Yeah.
And there are, multiple Kubernetes versions. Testing Rook master with Ceph master is another one. So
Yeah,
there's so many things to do.
and executing some orchestrator codes within the Rook CI would be really awesome.
Yeah.
And other things like the CI still only runs a single node cluster. We should actually have a multi-node cluster.
Yeah, and multiple disks, something a little bit more realistic, like even multiple NICs. I mean, they are. So I guess, really at this point, it's more like getting human resources that could be almost fully dedicated to building the new CI. And in parallel, then I guess we can try to find hardware resources. They can be VMs, they can be physical machines, but we have to start building this.
Yeah. In the Rook roadmap, I just posted a link. If you just search there for integration testing improvements, there are a few issues listed there of things we wanted to do for a while, and we just haven't had resources really to do it. And those aren't happening in Rook 1.0. There's an update PR or a PR for updating the roadmap that Blaine opened, moving those out to 1.1 basically, but they still need an owner. Yep.
Yeah, CSI is a good example too. Even though they want to test, because I don't think they will be testing their deployment with Rook. They will test a standalone CSI deployment with Kubernetes. They won't be using Rook for this, so there are plenty of things to do. So yes, Sebastian, if you can check internally with Susie if you have people with experience on building CI, and that we can pull these people in, or that person, I don't know, working with someone on our side, I guess that would be nice.
I think having people added to Rook will be a bit challenging.
Okay.
I don't know. I have to ask.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Resources are always constrained, aren't they?
Yeah, that's I think true for everyone.
Yeah, the CI is definitely a pain point though, in general.
I think that's the agenda for today, except if we have something else.
Nope.
I'll think of something right when we're done here, but all for me. Noah, anything on your side?
I don't think so.
All right. Okay, I guess we'll call it good for today then.
Sounds good. Have a good day, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye, guys.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.